that means it's the end. Buds on the trees means we're done with all of these. Welcome back to the channel. The maple syrup season is now over. The buds have officially popped out on the trees, which means the sap is no longer good to collect. It will be, won't taste good. It'll taste off, and we need to pull our taps. But although it is the end of one season, it is the beginning of another one that is much more exciting. That is spring and summer. We are off of the wood burner. The wood burner is shut down for the year. We're into April. We're now running on propane. Let's see, 10% of a 1,000-gallon tank. That should be plenty. And now that some time is freed up and the weather will be getting nicer, there'll be lots more to do outside. These sap sacks are great. Super easy to set up, but unfortunately, there's a lot of waste of plastic because these are hard to reuse, these bags. So you just throw them out usually after one season, which is too bad. Yucky sap. Had 16 taps put out this year, which was probably the smallest I've ever done. There's a reason for that, which is what I want to talk to you about today. There's always something going on here. There's always a fight for time. But today I want to talk to you about three things. There are three main things that I want to accomplish before fall, amongst a ton of other little things. And I want you to tell me what you're most excited about. So I've got three big things that are going to be planned, series that will be starting, either series, bigger projects, or smaller projects that will just be 1 or 2 videos. I'll leave the big one for last, but let me start down the hill here on one of the things I've been trying to do better at for the last 5 years. Down the hill here on the food production section of the homestead. This is the only place that gets enough sun, and I've had to cut down quite a few trees to accomplish that. But this is our garden. I blew all the leaves in there at the end of the year. We've got some raspberries and some grapes that are going to start to pop out here in just a little while here in April, later in April. But this garden has struggled. We have really battled growing things well here, and that is because the soil here on this is used to be much more of a slope. I've leveled out a lot of these areas, but this is just horrible soil. Not only have we battled the soil here, but we have battled the critters here. Deer have come in and ate all my corn. Rabbits have come in. Raccoons have eaten all the tomatoes, peppers. I've really struggled to get decent produce out of this garden. I got the posts in, but I never finished the fencing, and I've got spots here for some archways entering into the garden here, over there by the solar panel, and then over there by the main entrance. That'll be for grapes to grow over. We'll have the grapes grow along the fence here and over the trellis and all that. But this needs to get fixed. So this year is going to be a big garden year, and I'm going to go to about 75% raised beds. I'm going to do a big load of these corrugated raised beds in here this year. We're going to get a whole bunch of new planting area up in the back there, and I'll have to do something to amend the soil and get some wood chips in here. So big project here. Fencing needs to get done so we can keep out the pests, at least to the best of my ability, at least deter them. We need to get water down here from the house. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that this year or not, but that is a long-term goal. We've always tried to live sustainably, and that means growing our own food. And if the garden's not producing well, the fruit trees have not grown well here. On the hillside, the soil is just horrible because it all gets washed away. All the topsoil gets washed away. And so what we're left with is some sandy, rocky clay soil, and it's been difficult to amend that to keep good soil in there. So I think the raised beds will be the key. We're going to grow more food this year. We're going to preserve more food this year. We're also going to be working on some indoor projects, I think, later in the fall to store our food. Lots of little things. One of the central parts of our homestead. In fact, the central part of it is the chicken. The chickens do a lot for us here. They eat garden scraps. They eat all of our scrap food, so that doesn't go to waste, as well as our compost bin with our worms. And in turn, they produce eggs. However, we've had a problem here. I did a video about the 3 things I hate about this chicken coop that I built, and we need to fix it this year. We need to make a couple things better in the chicken operation to make this easier and to produce more eggs for us and compost for the garden. The chicken pasture and all of our chickens, this works out really well out here. We've got some birds that like to do their own thing. They like to go out in the cornfield and pick up all the little bits of corn that are left from last year. This woodland pasture does really well because all the leaves fall in here. The chickens love to scratch through it all. And you can see how they've composted the leaves in here. It used to look like that back there, and they've scratched through them all, and it all composted down really well in here. But the problem is I didn't listen to my own advice. I built this chicken coop where I thought it would look the best from the window at the house. That was a bad idea. Because I had planned on moving some fencing around here. We had goats at the time. We no longer have goats, and I can't get to the nesting box. The nesting box is back there. So in order for me to get to the nesting box, I have to go through the gate, tromp through all of this nastiness, and get back to that. The goal here is going to be to change all this pasture around so that I can get to the back of the chicken coop easily. And I also need to redo all the nesting boxes and make this a lot easier for as many chickens as I have here. So what happens? Well, I don't collect the eggs. We collect them very infrequently, and then of course they freeze if we don't get them out here very quick enough. They crack, they make a mess, and the chickens stop using the nesting box. So this all gets cleared out, and I start over, and then I'll come out for a few days and I'll collect them pretty well, and then I end up getting behind on it because it's just such a messy thing. I've already started some logging in here. We're gonna do some more logging. We're gonna open this pen up. We're gonna make it so that it will grow a little bit better grass in here and some low-level brush. That's better for the chickens. We'll cut some trees down back there, and I'm gonna extend this pasture back so we can have more chickens, and they'll have more of their own food here in the pen. Hatching out chickens, collecting eggs, cleaning out the chicken coop, all things that need to be improved upon here this year. That'll be a running series that's gonna go on here, especially in the early part of the year. There's also a lot of little things that need to be cleaned up out here. We have a bunny hutch that needs to go. We're not using that anymore. The old stick compost pile needs to be changed. Some trash and things need to be cleaned up. This old little chicken coop needs to be fixed up a little bit so I can use that for brooding new chicks. Lots of little projects to do up here to make this a real nice chicken area again. The last one is a big one. This one is going to be something that'll begin a series that I'll probably get into the fall and then finish up throughout the winter. I have wanted and needed to build a sugar shack here on the homestead. It's a big project. There's definitely some costs associated with that. I want to do more maple syrup here, and I want to do it better. And I need a good place to do that. And I've never had a great place. I had the greenhouse on the old homestead that we used for maple syrup in the spring and late winter. But that didn't work that great. I've done it outside many years, and that's not great. It's time to do better. I've been working on this area. This used to be all kind of forested and just woods. I've kind of started to clear some trails out in here. I've cut down a few trees, a few bigger trees, and left a lot of the maples so they get more sun. I'll continue cutting down a lot of these oaks to leave more room for the maples. This is a wood shed I've got. I've been experimenting with some wind power back here to provide some power out in this area. This spot right in here seemed like a perfect spot to build up a little platform. Everything's on a hill here, so it's got to be built up and leveled out. The goal will be to build a 144 square foot or smaller building. That's what's allowed here in our township without a permit. It needs to be a building that has steam vents in the roof to let all the steam out. It needs to be big enough to put an evaporator, have some kind of wood storage nearby, have some tanks and barrels and pumps and pipes and things to store the sap outside in the cold and pump it in as we evaporate. I already have a lot of the stuff. I've got some barrels that I've used for years. I've got IBC totes that I might bury in the ground to keep it cold. I've got sap pans. I've got reverse osmosis systems already put together. I have some, a start at least, on taps and other maple syrup things. And so I just need to get to work. I just need to start building. Those are the three big things. There's also a lot of small things in there. I also have a flat tire in the golf cart needs to be fixed. Flat tire in the lawnmower needs to be fixed. Need to put a new thermostat in the GMC. That needs to be fixed. And it sure would be nice to do something about this. 3 big projects coming up and a lot of smaller ones. We need to up our game with our food production. We need to up our game with our chicken operation, and we need to up our game with our maple syrup operation. And all those require some improvements, a little bit of time and effort. So look forward to those things. Which one of those big projects are you most looking forward to? I'd love to hear from you guys down below. Let me know what you're most excited about, because that's what I'll spend the most time filming, and I'll maybe move that up in the priority list. So let me know what you guys think. Just wanted to take a few minutes and let you know what was coming up on the channel. Hope you guys are excited as I am. I love this time of year. Springtime is the most exciting and busy time of the year here on the homestead, and I love it. Thanks for tagging along today. We'll see you next time.